You can eat clean. You can walk every single day. You can take your blood pressure medication exactly as prescribed. Never miss a dose, and still feel like something is slowly slipping away. Cold hands, heavy legs, foggy thinking, fatigue that doesn't make sense. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. If you drink this one healthy tea every day, your blood flow may still be quietly getting worse. That sounds impossible, because this tea is praised everywhere. It's marketed as heart-friendly, antioxidant-rich, and even anti-aging. It's printed on wellness blogs. It's recommended in casual doctor visits. Many older adults drink it morning and afternoon, sometimes 3 or 4 cups a day, believing they're doing something good for their arteries, their heart, and their longevity. But the truth is far more unsettling. For people over 50, this popular tea can begin to do the opposite of what you expect. Instead of relaxing blood vessels, it can slowly stiffen them. Instead of improving circulation, it can reduce oxygen delivery to vital tissues. And instead of protecting your heart and brain, it can quietly starve them, 1 cup at a time. What makes this especially dangerous is that there are no loud warning signs at first. No sudden pain, no dramatic collapse, just subtle changes you might blame on aging. A little more numbness, a little less stamina, a little more dizziness when you stand up. And behind the scenes, blood vessels are becoming less responsive, less flexible, and less able to deliver life-giving oxygen where it's needed most. And in just a moment, I'm going to explain exactly why this happens, why it affects older adults so much more than younger people, who is most at risk, and, most importantly, what you can drink instead. What you can drink instead to naturally restore healthy blood flow before real damage sets in. As we age, blood flow becomes one of the most fragile systems in the body. Yet it's rarely treated that way. In your 30s, your arteries are flexible, elastic, and incredibly forgiving. They expand easily when your heart pumps. They relax quickly afterward. Minor dietary mistakes barely register. Your body adapts without you even noticing. But after 45, and especially after 60, that natural flexibility begins to fade. Blood vessel walls slowly stiffen. The production of nitric oxide, the molecule that tells arteries to relax and open, declines year after year. Low-grade inflammation becomes the background noise of daily life. Suddenly, small habits that once seemed harmless start having powerful, sometimes dangerous effects. This is why so many adults wake up with cold hands and feet, even in warm rooms. Why leg cramps strike at night. Why standing up too fast makes the room spin. Why mental clarity fades for no obvious reason. The heart may still be strong, the pulse may still be steady, but the blood itself is no longer moving efficiently through aging, less responsive vessels. And here's the part no one warns you about. Some habits that were neutral, or even genuinely helpful, when you were younger, can quietly become harmful later in life. Not because they suddenly turn toxic, but because your body no longer processes them the same way. Your metabolism changes, your absorption changes, your vascular response changes. And this is where many well-meaning health routines start working against you instead of for you. One of the most overlooked examples is what you drink every single morning, often without a second thought. A drink that feels comforting, familiar, almost symbolic of healthy aging. Today, we're talking about a tea that millions of older adults consume daily, believing it protects their heart and circulation, when in reality, for many people over 50, it quietly does the opposite. And once you understand how this happens inside aging blood vessels, you'll also understand how easy it is to reverse the damage before it progresses into serious cardiovascular trouble that no pill can fully undo. I want to tell you about George. George is 68 years old, a retired engineer, methodical, disciplined. He never smoked a day in his life. He walks every morning, rain or shine. He watches his salt. He listens to his doctor. And years ago, he switched from coffee to tea because he was told it was gentler on the heart. For a long time, everything seemed fine. But slowly, things began to change. George noticed his legs felt heavy after short walks that used to feel effortless. His feet were always cold, even in summer. He struggled to find words during conversations. His memory wasn't as sharp, and his blood pressure readings began to swing unpredictably, despite taking his medication exactly as prescribed. So he did what most people do. He went back to his doctors. They adjusted his prescriptions. They added one pill, removed another. They blamed age. They blamed family history. They blamed stress. But no one asked about the one daily habit George never skipped, because it seemed harmless. 3 large mugs of this tea every single day, morning, afternoon, and evening, for years. Here's the myth you've been told, and it's deeply ingrained in modern wellness culture. If something is natural and antioxidant rich, it must improve circulation. But the truth is far more complicated, especially in aging bodies. Certain compounds found in this tea can constrict blood vessels instead of relaxing them. They can interfere with iron and mineral absorption. And most importantly, they can suppress nitric oxide, the very molecule that tells your blood vessels to open and allow blood to flow freely. In younger adults, the body compensates. The vascular system is flexible. Nitric oxide production is high. The lining of the arteries responds quickly and efficiently. Any minor disruption is corrected almost immediately. But in older adults, that safety net disappears. Blood vessels are already stiffer. Nitric oxide levels are already lower. Inflammation is already present. There is no extra capacity to compensate. This is where many people go wrong. They assume more antioxidants automatically mean better blood flow. But blood vessels don't respond to antioxidants alone. They respond to balance, between relaxation and contraction, between oxygen delivery and demand, between inflammation and repair. When that balance is disrupted day after day, week after week, circulation doesn't fail dramatically. It declines quietly, silently, almost invisibly. The result is reduced oxygen to the brain, which affects memory and focus, increased strain on the heart, which raises cardiovascular risk, slower healing in the legs and feet, numbness, fatigue, and over time, the conditions that doctors label as age-related, but are actually habit-driven. Now let's uncover the hidden mechanism behind this popular tea and why it behaves so differently in older bodies than it does in the young. The tea I'm talking about is black tea, and in some cases, very strong green tea when it's consumed excessively and daily over many years. These are some of the most commonly recommended beverages for heart health, especially among older adults who are trying to avoid coffee or sugary drinks. Black tea is rich in compounds called tannins and catechins. On paper, they look impressive. They fight free radicals. They reduce oxidative stress. They're often highlighted as protective antioxidants that should, in theory, support vascular health. But here's the hidden truth most people never hear. In adults over 50, high and consistent tannin intake can actually reduce the availability of nitric oxide, the single most important molecule responsible for healthy blood flow. Nitric oxide is what tells your blood vessels to relax, widen, and respond to changing demands. It allows arteries to expand when your heart pumps and then gently contract afterward. Without enough nitric oxide, blood vessels lose their flexibility. And when that happens, arteries begin to behave less like flexible hoses and more like rigid pipes. Blood can still move through them, but it meets resistance at every turn. Pressure rises, flow slows, oxygen delivery drops. Multiple vascular aging studies have shown that excessive tannins bind to essential minerals like iron and magnesium in the digestive tract. Over time, this reduces oxygen transport in the blood and impairs the smooth muscle relaxation needed inside vessel walls. One European vascular aging analysis, published in 2019, observed that older adults who consumed high tannin beverages every day had measurably reduced endothelial function compared to those who did not. In simple terms, the endothelial lining, the thin, delicate layer inside your blood vessels, stopped responding properly. It no longer relaxed when it should. It no longer adapted quickly to changes in blood flow demand. And this is the most dangerous part. This process doesn't happen overnight. There's no sudden warning sign, no sharp pain, no dramatic symptom. It happens slowly, quietly, cup by cup, year after year. Because black tea doesn't spike blood sugar, doesn't raise cholesterol, and doesn't cause immediate discomfort, doctors rarely suspect it as a contributing factor. The danger is subtle. You feel disciplined, you feel healthy, you feel like you're doing the right thing, while circulation beneath the surface is steadily worsening. But now comes the most important part of this conversation. What actually restores blood flow? repairs vessel function, and protects your heart and brain as you age, without triggering these hidden effects. Now let's talk about what actually supports healthy blood flow after 45. Because fixing circulation isn't about removing everything you enjoy. It's about replacing the wrong signals with the right ones, signals your aging blood vessels can still respond to. The first and most powerful option is beetroot, or beet-based drinks. Beets are naturally rich in dietary nitrates, and this is crucial. Unlike many supplements that rely on complex pathways, your body converts nitrates from beets directly into nitric oxide. That's why so many older adults who regularly consume beets notice warmer hands and feet, steadier blood pressure readings, and improved walking endurance. Blood vessels begin to relax again. Oxygen delivery improves. Muscles receive what they need without strain. But timing matters. Morning or early afternoon is ideal, when your body is active and circulation naturally ramps up. Late at night is not recommended because enhanced blood flow can interfere with the body's ability to fully wind down and rest. One common mistake is pairing beets with high-fat meals. Heavy fats interfere with nitrate conversion, blunting the very effect you're trying to achieve. Simpler combinations work best. Let me give you a real example. Linda is 71 years old. She had nightly leg cramps and constant cold feet. She replaced her afternoon black tea with a small glass of diluted beet juice 3 times a week. Within 1 month, the cramps disappeared. Her feet stayed warm. Nothing else in her routine changed. The second option is hibiscus tea. Unlike black tea, hibiscus gently relaxes blood vessels without suppressing nitric oxide production. It works with aging arteries, not against them. Hibiscus naturally lowers systolic blood pressure and improves arterial elasticity. The vessel walls become more responsive, less rigid, and better able to adapt to blood flow demands. The key here is moderation. 1 cup, ideally midday, is enough. Drinking more does not create better results. In circulation, precision always beats excess. The third solution is deceptively simple but incredibly powerful. Light movement immediately after drinking. Even a 5-minute walk sends a signal to your blood vessels to open and respond. This is where many people unknowingly sabotage their circulation. They drink tea or juice and then sit still for hours. Blood pools in the lower body. Vessels stiffen. The benefit is lost. One small habit change, standing up and moving briefly, can amplify the positive effects dramatically. Together, these 3 strategies retrain blood vessels to behave the way they did years earlier. And in many cases, they restore circulation in ways medication alone often cannot. This is where most people go wrong, because the damage doesn't come from dramatic mistakes. It comes from small, repeated habits that quietly stress aging blood vessels every single day. The first thing to avoid is drinking black tea on an empty stomach. When there's no food present, tannin absorption is maximized. This accelerates mineral depletion, especially iron and magnesium, both of which are critical for oxygen delivery and proper vessel relaxation. The second mistake is brewing tea too strong. Long steep times dramatically increase the concentration of vessel-constricting compounds. What starts as a mild beverage turns into a daily vascular stressor, especially in older bodies that can no longer neutralize these effects efficiently. The third mistake is combining tea with iron-rich meals. When tannins bind to iron, oxygen delivery at the cellular level drops. Muscles fatigue faster. The brain receives less oxygen. Circulation feels sluggish, even though the heart is still working hard. Another major misunderstanding is the belief that green tea is always safe. In moderate amounts, it can be beneficial, but consumed excessively, especially in very strong brews, it can create similar circulation problems, just more slowly and less noticeably at first. If you already struggle with cold hands or feet, varicose veins, diabetes, or any form of cardiovascular disease, these effects are magnified. Your blood vessels are already under strain. Adding the wrong stimulus pushes them further in the wrong direction. This is not about fear, it's about precision. Healthy aging isn't about removing everything you enjoy. It's about choosing habits that support how your body works now, not how it worked decades ago. Your aging body needs support, not stress disguised as health. When you remove the wrong stimulus, blood vessels often begin responding better almost immediately. Warmth returns. Energy improves. mental clarity sharpens. And that brings us to the final advice: the small changes that protect your circulation for years to come. Let's recap the most important lesson from today, because this is where real change begins. Aging well isn't about piling on more healthy habits, more supplements, or more rules. It's about identifying the small, everyday behaviors that quietly work against your body and removing them before they cause lasting damage. For many adults over 50, excessive black tea does exactly that. It disrupts blood flow, stiffens aging arteries, and slowly starves tissues of oxygen. Not dramatically, not all at once, but steadily, cup after cup, year after year. The good news is that you don't have to give up comfort or routine to protect your circulation. Even partially replacing black tea with blood flow supportive alternatives can lead to noticeable improvements in energy, mental clarity, warmth in the hands and feet, and overall heart health. Here's one final bonus tip that most people overlook: drink your fluids warm, not scalding hot and not ice cold. Extreme temperatures force aging blood vessels to contract or overreact. Warm liquids, on the other hand, support gentle vessel relaxation and smoother circulation. Now I want to hear from you. Have you been drinking this tea every day without realizing the impact it might be having on your blood flow? Or have you noticed any of the subtle signs we talked about today? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. And in the next video, I'm going to reveal a common breakfast food that silently thickens the blood after age 60 and exactly what to eat instead to protect your heart, your brain, and your circulation. If this information helped you, subscribe to the channel, because your circulation and your future depend on the choices you make every single day. Remember, the smallest daily habits decide how well your blood flows for the rest of your life.